Get ready for the Ochelli Effect.
17th day of December 2024, allegedly, according to that thing we call a calendar. This, the Ochelli Effect. We are live here at Ochelli.com, and thusly it is also a Tearsday, or a Tuesday, if you will. So what am I doing? I'm live and loud. I am supposed to have Gayle Nix Jackson with me. Now, I got to tell you, I tried calling her a couple of times before the show. I've gone to air a little bit late here, but I want to talk to her. If you listen to the Friday show, which I didn't get to release yet because there were problems, and I'll tell you all about those coming up real soon, but we'll get some podcasts out over the next 12 hours or so. There's going to be a bunch of new posts and stuff like that. But I spilled a bucket of Gatorade right before I went live to air and tried to call Gayle, and she wasn't answering her phone. So I'm live on the stream. You guys can hear it, and we'll preserve it via the podcast feed. How about that? And see what happens when we dial Gayle Nix Jackson once again. Now, I got a funny story if for some reason she's still not answering her phone, and I've got even better stories for what's going on here if she does answer the phone, okay? And don't mind me, folks. I'm not feeling particularly well. I could talk about some news and other stuff, and this 16-year-old kid that apparently slaughtered his family. He was drunk and called up 911 to say, hey, I'm drunk. I killed my family. That out of the New York area earlier today. I saw the published article. I'm not sure if it was today or yesterday, but maybe we'll get into that before we're all done tonight. I've got Larry Hancock scheduled for, let me see now, tomorrow, and Albert Lanier scheduled for another day. So we got a few things going on this week, and some other stuff I might try to squeeze in on the live feed, try and make up for the fact that I was way too ill to get out podcasts last week at all. And I'm still ill, actually. But I'm just going to push forward. But I'm telling you, I have a weird experience to describe, if nothing else, on the show tonight. Anyway, let's give Gayle Nix Jackson a call and see if she'll answer. Now, I'm using my Skype dial-out, so my apologies for the annoying...
forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Gayle, it is Chuck Ochelli calling you to try and get a hold of you for tonight's interview. It's Tuesday. It's just after 8 p.m. Eastern, which is, just after 7 p.m. Central where you are. So, Gayle, I wanted to talk about the lawsuit. I wanted to get on this with you, and let's get it out there. I mean, I know Doug got a hold of you right away and got you on the Dallas action, but, Gayle, maybe you forgot about me. All right. Hopefully, everything's okay. I hope all is well, Dad is well, and all that, and good news keeps rolling for you. Talk to you soon. So anyway, guys, that's the way that is. I called Gayle. I'll try and call her again. Maybe I'll take a break even and try and call her. I have, like I said, a few things that I could cover alternatively here. I meant to have this discussion with her tonight, and she booked it with me. Let's see. I mean, do we have any emails? Anything else? Let's see. No email from Gayle. No calls telling me she's not coming or anything. So, like I said, there's first of all this story in the New York Post published on the 16th, so I guess yesterday. And, it's got I'm looking at a weather map slideshow in front. This is very weird, the New York Post sometimes on their website. But anyway, I'll drop the link in the chat room and try and reach Gayle again in a few moments. I mean, it could be she's just running behind, and oh my God, I didn't realize what time it was. And I'll give her a call shortly. Anyways, So, a 16-year-old New Mexico boy was arrested Saturday morning after he allegedly gunned down his parents and teenage siblings and then drunkenly called 911 to confess to the quadruple homicide, police said. Diego Leiva, facing first-degree murder charges in the horrific slaughter that happened happened around 3:30 a.m. before the Valencia County Sheriff's Office received a phone call from the murder suspect, New Mexico State Police said in a news release. The teen allegedly told a dispatcher over the phone that he killed his family, then walked out with his hands in the air when deputies reached his home in the city of Belen, authorities said. A New Mexico teen boy was arrested. Oh, that's a caption under this thing. State police said Leiva was extremely intoxicated, but was taken into custody without incident. It's always amazing to me who it just looks like they decide to kill, who isn't even resisting arrest sometimes, and who they don't. They take in, and, I mean, even when they brought Dylan Roof to go get Burger King on his way to jail, I mean, might as well. But, you know, after he shot up a church, right? Anyways. That's the suspect's 42-year-old father, Leonardo Leiva, 35-year-old mother, Adriana Boncomo, 16-year-old sister, Adrian Leiva, and 14-year-old brother, Alexander Leiva, were all found dead with gunshot wounds inside the home, according to law enforcement and KRQE. Quick curiosity here, unless I'm misreading this. I guess there's a busy family happening there because 2 16-year-olds in the same year, huh? And then a 14-year-old is the youngest? Wild. 35-year-old mom, 42-year-old father, 7-year age difference. Somebody once told me that was like the perfect age difference. And then they have a picture of the parents. They look, you know, like regular people. Mom's a little more tan than dad, but dad kind of looks like, you know, typical mixed race, light skinned people. She looks like a typical kind of housewife. There's, I don't know, packages around for Christmas or a birthday or something, and they just seem to be normal people in a normal home. Typical Americana. Anyway, and it says in a caption under that's the picture of the victims. The teen allegedly, a former teacher was in disbelief that the teen boy could be responsible for the ruthless slayings. I would never have thought that something like this would happen and that Diego would be capable of doing something like this. Educator Vanessa LaGrange told The Guardian. Everyone's in shock. The Police Investigation Bureau is still trying to determine what sparked the murderous rampage. Now, why do I bring this up? Why did I choose to read this particular story? Gotta tell you, it's real simple. We are about to enter an interesting time period here. Okay? 2025 is hello fan, meet shite. This is where we're going, and I'm telling you, the amount of, and I know that weird discussion that happened on the Friday night show where, you know, B. Pete was completely amazed that I have no sort of sympathy for, you know, millionaires who get murdered, but I don't. You know, you want me to lie about it? I mean, I would love to, and I try to on a very basic level have, you know, compassion for anybody whose life is wrongfully taken. But on balance, you see, there's this problem where if you're involved in the constant taking of life, that is part of your mechanism. And indeed, we may be winding up this week, talking about some eugenics and some other things where people have agendas to cull the society a bit. Mm-hmm. And whether it's for the corporate gain of the almighty dollar, or it's for a psychopathic ideal, or it's over the imaginary borderlines that are supposedly painted on the map that you must defend because somebody's put their foot on a piece of land and named it so many hundreds of years ago, and other people tell them that their God entitled them to a piece of land, and other people think that since their, ancestors lived there, maybe they deserve to live there too. And, you know, and all these different reasons for why it is that people slaughter and systematically murder one another like it's a giant factory farm, and we are nothing more than mushrooms to be culled. Yeah, I have trouble with sympathy for those that lack humanity when they're more than pleased to benefit off of it. So, yeah, I guess I'm a bad guy in that way. Anyhow, let's try one more time to reach out to Gayle before we turn this into a completely different sort of show. And I tell you about a spoiler, I guess, for something I'm going to do that I've never done before on this show. And I'm going to try and do a lot of things that I've never done before on this show in the coming months, because it's time to change stuff up. Plus, I got a story about, what happened to me starting well before Friday night. But I was so dysfunctional on Friday night that, frankly, I had to, sadly even, visit the hospital. Okay? And if you knew me in person, I guarantee you'd be like shocked that I even was, not just dragged there in a straitjacket or something, because hospitals, I hate them. I can't stand these so-called doctors who, again, are under an oath where they're supposed to have done no harm, but are sometimes often involved in, guess what? Systematically, eugenically, sanitation-wise, cleaning up humanity or culling us again, Boy, who do I sound like at this point? Well, AJ went on a whole rampage about the gay frogs again not too long ago. I don't know if you missed that one. I certainly did, until somebody not somebody, a bunch of somebodies had to email it to me. Because whatever he's doing with the Alex Jones show, and now he has his platform back, etc., it's pumping out transcripts really rapidly, really quickly, and the transcript, forced them to have to email it to me. And then I listened to AJ for a minute and was appalled at the fact that him and I have similar sounding American voices, and it's starting to get to me where, the Australian guys used to tell me all the time that was the problem, that I sounded a lot like Panic Attack Jones over there at Jonestown, at InfoHoovers. You sound just the same as him. And I would say a totally different accent, completely different attitude, and I'm not here to amp up your anxiety and cash in on it like he is. Oh, your male vitality's going because they're killing the gay frogs. Buy our tangy, whatever it is, male enhancement pill. And then you got to buy stuff from my father. Who's a doctor? He's a doctor. I think he's a dentist, maybe. Anyway, doctor of dentistry? Does that even count? I mean, I know they get doctor plates and whatnot, on their cars, but anyway, who cares? Let's try Gayle one more time and see if we can't get lucky enough to get the lovely Gayle Nix Jackson, author, of course, Orville Nix Sr.'s granddaughter, right? And the daughter of Orville Nix Jr., and thusly the woman who went on a decades-long crusade to simply recover the original Nix film of the JFK assassination. I've had her on the show before. I have no idea what year the last time was, but I've had her on several times, and I've had some interesting interactions with her. The best ones were this past year at Lancer and the year before at Lancer. 2017 Lancer was an entirely different narrative. So anyway, let's try Gayle one more time and see if we can't somehow reach her. Let's just make sure I got the number correctly in front of me. Yes, I do. Good. So we'll try again with Gayle Nix Jackson. Apologies for the Skype noise, by the way.
Has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Hey, Gayle, it's Chuck Ochelli again calling you from the Ochelli Effect, and I'm on my microphone and all that good stuff. I'm live on the air, and I was hoping to speak to you today because we had arranged to get together this Tuesday, discuss, tell people who hadn't heard on Doug's show all about the court ruling regarding the Nix film. Anyway, I hope that your family and everyone is intact, safe, and strong. I hope nothing is wrong. Okay? send me an email or something and let me know that at least you're okay, or let me know what I did that now I'm on your crap list or whatever, please. I don't know. I thought we were all cool last time we talked. What can I say? All right. Well, again, I hope you're well. I hope your husband's well. I hope your dad's well. I hope everybody's well. And I hope this is nothing more than just, oops, I forgot. And, I'm sorry. I'm so forgettable, Gayle. I'll talk to you soon, I hope. So that's that. I left another message for Gayle Nix Jackson. Okay. And I guess we're not going to talk to her tonight. I'll have to rearrange that and maybe talk to her at an earlier point in the day or something like that. I guess we'll have to go there. All right. So I've covered one news story thus far. That is out of the New York Post. I'm going to drop that into the live chat room at Ochelli.com just so you guys can follow along or roll it back later. If you go to Ochelli.com and you go to the chat and listen page, very accessible. You can always roll it back, take a look at the time. And if it's, between 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern, any given weeknight, with the exception usually of Monday, and of course, I don't usually do live weekends, you can catch up. So really quickly, I guess I'll tell you, one thing is that I'm feeling a little bad because, in 2017, Gayle and I were talking before I went to Dallas, and I was like, I've never been to Dallas on my own. I'm going to be a blind guy getting off a bus. And she said, I know Dallas really well, and of course I do, and I'll tell you what, I'll pick you up from the bus station and bring you to your hotel, because I logistically had no idea where the hotel was. I was going to just, basically the plan before she offered to pick me up was I'll go get a taxi, and I'll tell them the name of the hotel, and the taxi driver will have to know where it is. So I figured I'd work from there and try and call Mike Swanson and see where he was at and hook up with him, and that way I would have, help getting around the city at night that I was, anytime I had gone there previously. I had been around Dallas a few times, but I had never gone to a conference, and whenever I did go, though, I had gone, via car, and whoever was with me, that's who got us to where we were going, and they knew where we were going, and if I needed directions to go somewhere else, I got it for them, and we went. This is how I got to go to District Attorney Henry Wade's house, or former District Attorney at that point, actually. He was retired and all that. But he had a nice little office in his house and, sat down and told me with a gleeful grin the whole story about that night when the press conference was happening. And, hey, did you know who the man was that spoke up and corrected me? Because I said, he said something about, some organization, whatever. And I said, oh, yes, Mr. Wade, I'm very familiar with all of the media coverage. And I quoted right away and told him what you said was he was part of the Free Cuba movement or whatever. And I said a voice, or possibly two, I had not studied the audio in depth at that point, from somewhere in the room, this packed press conference room, said to you, no, that's the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. And, he kind of shrugged it off live in 1963 as events were occurring. But he said, do you know who that was? And, of course, I did. I said, now, I contend now, and at that point was starting to come up with an idea that there was more than one voice, and I'm certain of it now, and I think I might have even identified who it is. One of those little tidbits I would throw into a JFK book just along the way, if I do indeed produce one at some point. Anyway, so I said, yeah, of course, that was Jack Ruby. He said, right, you knew that. I said, well, how did he know that? He said, I don't know. Anyway, I have a mini DVD of this discussion with Henry Wade, which apparently, and I've seen a couple of other people interview him in some, really scarcely viewed videos. One of the coolest ones actually was, what's his name? Mark Oakes had recorded him, the guy who did the Mystery FBI Man videotape and DVD later. Mark Oakes had done a cool piece on this and had gone to his house, and I swear to God, word for word, he tells him the same story about Jack Ruby. I mean, the same exact, with the same breaks and beats, and almost, memory's not entirely clear on this at the moment, and it's a visual cue. But I mean, it sounded like somebody just pressed play on either Mark's or my interview during the time either Mark or myself went there to go interview Henry Wade Muppet, because it was the same lines read the same way, you know what I mean? But it wasn't. I mean, he has apparently told, or had, now long gone, but had apparently told that story probably a million times, because it's an interesting, crazy fact. And back then, no YouTube or nothing in the early 90s. I'm thinking 92 or 3, because 93 would be the 30th anniversary. Yeah, probably 93 is when I got, enough people interested to travel with me. And we did a few things, our trip to Pennsylvania, our trip to Washington, few other places. And also because I was able to travel as a musician at the time, I ended up going to Los Angeles at a certain point. Anyway, point is that if I had the opportunity while I was doing other business, I would obviously hook some kind of, I got free time, great, JFK something. A witness lives here now, whatever. Even when I went to Canada, I did that. Anyhow, which, by the way, the Canadian interest in the JFK assassination has risen in recent years, and I'm not sure why. I mean, I don't know. They're running a lot of stuff on Canadian TV. Anyway, I'll have to look into that some more. But the point is, I'd been to Dallas a bunch of times, and like I said, Gayle said, "Okay, I'll pick you up. I'll drop you off at your hotel." Great. So I do the whole Greyhound to hell, and I'm telling you, you do not want to travel on a Greyhound bus for more. I mean, I guess you could tolerate almost anything for a couple hours, and I've dealt with the New York subway and New Jersey Transit for a lot of years in my life. I've only lived down south about 10 years, and probably my time living outside of New Jersey is only a handful of years aside from that. So being generous, let's just say I spent 15 years living elsewhere, and I'm 52 years old, quickly approaching 53. So, if you go with that, I mean, you're clicking awfully dangerously close to 40 years I probably spent in New Jersey, childhood and all, right? So, I was accustomed to that. New York's a hop, skip, and not even a jump, over on the other side of the river. So not a big deal. You definitely get accustomed to, packed trains and difficulties and stuff like that. I mean, I wouldn't put a guy in a chokehold over some of the antics I've seen, although it's a little crazy sometimes. And in the late 70s, it was a big mess to go underground or to go anywhere where you weren't seen in public. And, oh, by the way, in a lot of cases in any other part of the country, you could find safety by being publicly accessible and viewable back then, despite, no videotapes or anything. It seemed like people didn't really want to do any serious harm to anybody in public, in broad daylight, as they used to say back then. But those rules have since been completely abandoned by the majority of the society that prevails in the New York tri-state metro area, whatever you want to call it. New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, I always thought of it as, but they called it that tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut at one point. I always think of Connecticut as the really the pointless part of the metro area there, because it's really mostly rich people outside of, like, you go to Bridgeport and whatnot, and it's like just a lot of rich white people, again, outside of places like Bridgeport. And it's just kind of boring. The food's not good. People are kind of snotty and snooty and jerky, and, doctors and lawyers live out there, but they're almost paupers. Everybody's got a housekeeper, that kind of crap. Anyways, so I lived in that area most of my life. So the Greyhound is packed. It's a hellish trip. I'm on there about, 26 hours or something like this, to go, because, it doesn't take 26 hours. It takes about, say, 12 or 13, really, if you're an efficient driver and you spend some of that time, going in and out of places that are not being blocked up by rush hour traffics, stuff like that, and your highway mile. It's pretty good trip. But 12, 13, 14 hours max should be in a regular vehicle to go from Georgia to Dallas, Texas, or at least Macon, where I'm at. So that yeah, I get there and I'm exhausted, and I'm jumping on and off the bus trying to grab a cigarette here or there. We make a couple of prisoner pickups on the way from a couple of state penitentiaries, different places in the South. Now, this doesn't normally bother me, except that, like I said, no empty seats on this damn bus at all. So everybody's packed up against everybody. At one point, I had a weird, very dirty sort of woman with a garbage bag where she was carrying her belongings in a garbage bag and insisting on keeping them in front of her. And believe me, legroom is not a great feature on Greyhound. Okay. Stuff didn't work. All kinds of weirdness. I think that there was supposed to be like access to free Wi-Fi on the bus. That didn't work right. I had a couple of snacks. Some of the odd passengers that were with me were like aggressively trying to bum cigarettes off. These are very, very weird kind of just crap. I am so done. Thank God I'm going to see a friendly face. I'll see Gayle. I'll ask her where I can go get, I don't know, a sandwich or something. Because I got there and I think it was... I don't know. It was dark. So I want to say it was like, 11 o'clock at night. And, I'm thinking, this will be cool. You know what I mean? Everything will be all right. I've gone, watched the sun go down and it'll be up again in a few hours, but I'm going to go hit my hotel room and sleep. Well, Gayle didn't answer the phone. So I'm sitting there going, now what do I do? So I go over to try and, get to the taxi stand, and there's these lines. I don't know if every city has these. New York used to have them, but I mean, they're really just vague suggestions. And I've seen them in a couple other places. I think I've seen them in Chicago and, almost any place with a large sort of, station of sorts for travel, whether it's a bus or a plane or a train station. When you're in a big city or decent city, size city, not like, a small city in the Midwest or something, but I mean like an actual substantial urban environment, you usually have a transportation hub that's nearby, and they almost always used to have anyway. I don't know if that's, again, post-COVID, God knows, used to have these taxi stands, transportation hub once you land on the ground. If you came off a bus or a plane, unless you have the funds to go rent a car, or you're a blind jackass like me and can't drive a car, what are you going to do? Rent a bike or, get an e-scooter? Well, e-scooters weren't out then, as far as I know, but they might have been, 2017. Anyway, doesn't matter. Didn't see him in Dallas, I'll tell you that. So I go over to the taxi stand, and I'm standing there, and I'm practically wanting to fall asleep and lighting a cigarette like I'm about to do now. I'll take another stab at this when I'm done with the story and try and call Gayle one more time. But so I'm standing there, waiting at the taxi stand. I don't know, maybe Gayle forgot about me. She fell asleep. I don't know. I'll try her again tomorrow. And a homeless guy comes over to me. And, hey, can you do this or that for me? Oh, look at this. The phone is ringing, guys. So I'm going to interrupt my story here, I guess, and try and answer the phone for Gayle Nix Jackson. I think it is. Let's see if that's true. Hello. Yes. Yes. Oh. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. We. I hear you. I'm on the air right now. They can't hear you, but I'm on my radio show. Yeah, because this is my radio show time. No, they can't hear you. No, sir. They cannot hear you. But I'm just letting you know. And I don't have any money, so, no problem. Listen, I'm glad to know she's okay. Okay, I'm glad to know she's okay, but I got my headphones on. I'll just continue on with my show, which the listeners can hear one side of this conversation. I got Gayle Nix Jackson's husband on the phone, guys. That's what you're hearing, but you can't hear him because he's on the extension phone I use on the side here that you heard ring. So, okay, look, I hope she feels better, but just let her know I tried to get a hold of her for the interview, and I went live, but, she wasn't there, but I'll get in touch, but tell her I hope she feels better, seriously. And, again, sorry about that. I had no idea that she was ill. Yes. But email it to me. This way I'll actually have it, and I won't lose it. No problem. Just look, email me the number, and that way I can contact you. Because excellent. All right. Hey, look, Merry Christmas to you. I just got out of the hospital, by the way. I went to the hospital. I don't know what was wrong with me still. Anyway, I'm about to tell that story on the air. They're hearing half a conversation right now. You guys enjoying this? Anyway, I'm going to let you go and go back to my radio show. But you email me that number, please, because I don't have it yet. And, and tell her, please, make sure to tell her that I really hope she feels better very soon, and I want to talk to her as soon as she's up for it, okay? Excellent. And also, the phone call she asked me to make, I did make it, and I'm going to continue trying to make it, okay? All right. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so now I've just heard from Gayle Nix Jackson's husband, and apparently she's ill. Anyway, back to the story of what happened in Dallas. I'm on the taxi stand line, and a homeless guy is bugging me for cigarettes and this and that, and it's a long taxi line at 11 or 11:30, I don't know, somewhere near that time at night at the taxi stand in Dallas. And so I'm standing there like, man, I'm hungry. I want to get something to eat. Let me find the damn hotel first. And the homeless guy's like, that hotel's not far from here. I can walk you there. I said, okay. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a couple of bucks. Show me where the hotel is. So the guy took me to the hotel. It was only a couple of blocks away, actually. I didn't know that. The taxi guy, the first taxi guy that I moved up to before I talked to this guy, the homeless guy, said he wouldn't even take me on the ride because it was too short of a trip. So I should have known that it was that close, but still I had no direction. My cell phone, I tried calling Gayle, but also the charger didn't work on the bus, so my battery died over the course of a full day. It wasn't fully charged when I got on the bus, but because the charger didn't work in the arm of the seat, I couldn't get a battery charge the whole time. So now, after trying to call Gayle and everything, I've got a dead phone, a homeless guy, and just the name of the hotel that I got to try and show up at where I'm supposed to be staying with Mike Swanson. So, okay. Anyways, so yeah, the taxi guy goes, I'm not even wasting my time with that short trip when I told him where I was going. All right, fine. Homeless guy, though, come on, I'll walk you there. So I'm thinking, let me grab a hold of, because I'm not traveling anywhere without something that can be utilized as a weapon. Grab a hold of my weapon just in case. This is some kind of, quick shakedown, try and take me down, right? Because maybe this guy's going to walk me somewhere and go, oh, you got to cut through this alley, and then he's going to mug me, right? Take my suitcase, take whatever I got in my pockets. I'm exhausted. I'm clearly a little disheveled. I've been on the Greyhound from hell. I'm a sweaty mess, right? Probably shaking, too. You know how you get real cold when you first wake up? You're like, ugh. And this is November in Dallas. Anyways, so it wasn't that cold, but for a guy who just woke up, felt pretty damn cold. So I go, and the guy walks me there. And I think I gave him $10, and he was happy with the $10. So then he asked me, oh, you need this? No, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm at the hotel. So I go into the hotel, and I'm trying to figure out a way to, find a plug somewhere in this very nice hotel lobby. Where's your electrical outlet, man? I must have looked great, beat up suitcase, long hair, probably not in a hair tie, mess, baseball hat on, right? I think I put on pajama pants because I knew I was going to be in a seat for 26 hours or 24 hours or whatever. And I had done a couple of struggles trying to smoke and jump on and off the bus, and then I would lose my seat. It was madness. So I get there, I get the room key, I get to go up to the room, and now I'm trying to figure out, oh, my God, I need something to eat. And next thing I know is Mike Swanson says, because he shows up at the room. We're both at the room. And this is after I finally did find an outlet, by the way. And actually, I couldn't check in by myself because I didn't know where my ID was in my luggage. And Mike comes down and from the room because I found a charger. And this took a while. And I'm outside smoking. He came out to me. Okay, I'll take you up to the room. Here's the key. He had the extra key already. I said, great. So I get up there, and it's a nice room, and we're ready to crash, okay? Next thing I know is, I don't know if I want to do this or not, but, we can go out to dinner. So we went somewhere to eat. I forget where, but it was one of the first times I ever saw somebody order one of those, a Blue Moon beer or something. And there was a couple of guys. One guy who had worked with David Lifton but didn't recognize me. He was a guy from L.A., I guess. Anyhow, whatever it was, I was just like grateful to have landed there. But Gayle stood me up in 2017. Now tonight, apparently, according to her husband, she's very ill, but nobody notified me to tell me cancel show. Anyway, it's been a hell of a week. Let me take a little break, get my bearings back, and give you guys, some other updates, maybe some other news. Maybe I'll reveal to you the strange direction I'm thinking about going in because, bottom line, I feel drained. I feel completely dejected by a whole lot of crap that's gone on recently. And I'm not just talking about world events and the rise and new normalization of of the Trump dumpster fire, which is going to continue, and people are going to cheer as everything burns one way or another. That's right. You keep that Obamacare crap away from me. I got my Affordable Care Act. I don't want your government money. I got Social Security. Well, if they privatize everything, it'll be beautiful because you'll actually have been proven right retroactively, even though you were crazy to think about it that way in the first place. But cool. Enjoy. The value of life is not, all that relative. Or maybe it is. I mean, if it's your relatives, maybe. Uh-oh. Are we about to get into a paradox? Are we going to have to talk about how possibly there have been some works of fiction recently that could be mirroring or be the precursors, the actual fruition of old plans becoming new realities, etc., etc.? Am I going to have to talk to you about a guy who may have been from the year 2036? Are we going to have to discuss, again, the literary creation of a fictional reality in which a predetermined future has already been mapped out, and maybe there is an adaptive way to study this while we get brand new diseases and the culling that continues to keep on keeping on? Look at it this way. This will be a different sort of show tonight. I'm sure of that much alone. Hopefully you are too. I'm going to continue this after a short break on the Ochelli.com radio network. Maybe I'll even hook up the phone lines in the meantime. How about that? I'll be right back, so keep your minds and your ears open. Tuesday, Ochelli Effect. We are live, but for how long?
This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, and you're listening to the Ochelli Effect at Ochelli.com.
Yo, this is Doug Campbell, host of the Dallas Action Podcast, presented by Wall Street Window, and you are listening to the Ochelli Effect, Revelation through conversation.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, I'm interested in the truth about the JFK assassination.
Right. Well, what do you want to know?
Judy Baker's wild claim, Oswald girlfriend, he knew Ruby and Barry, cancer weapons. Really?
I imagine I could claim I have 4 wheels. It doesn't make me a wagon, but okay.
Oswald was on the kill team and trying to prevent the murder of John Kennedy. Come on now. Has a real expert on the JFK assassination looked into her claims?
Go to Amazon.com, enter Judith Baker in her own words. You'll get results for a digital copy of a book where Walt Brown utilizes her own words and the known evidence in the case to get at, well, a different perspective, let's say. You can get Judith Barry Baker in her own words from the author himself, signed if you request it, by contacting Dr. Brown at KIASJFK@AOL.com. It's a fun book, and it actually dissects the many, many fantastic claims. Judith Barry Baker in her own words.
Thank you for all the great information.
The War State by Michael Swanson explains the great national transformation that took place and put the Kennedy presidency in the context of the times, and reveals never-before published information about the Cuban Missile Crisis. President Kennedy would not have been assassinated if he had been president 200 years ago. His assassination took place in the context of the Cold War and the rise of the national security state. Before World War II, the United States was a continental republic. In the decade that followed, it became an imperial superpower. Generals such as Curtis LeMay not only wanted to invade Cuba, but knew that there were short-range missiles on the island armed with nuclear warheads that they could not destroy because they were on mobile launchers. Their invasion could have led to a third world war, and they wanted to go to war anyway. The War State by Michael Swanson reveals why and will show you what President Kennedy was up against. For more information, thewarstate.com.
The Ochelli.com radio network.
Revelation through conversation.
In Denial, Secret Wars with Airstrikes and Tanks by Larry Hancock. Secret wars became a staple of U.S. covert operations and are still happening today. Larry Hancock's book, In Denial, rips the cover off many of them. Using new files, it exposes things about the Bay of Pigs that no one has ever written about before. It shows why it really failed and why the United States did not learn from it. It also shows why other countries today are doing secret operations with more success. This is the book that puts what some want to deny into the light. In Denial, Secret Wars with Airstrikes and Tanks. Larry Hancock. For more information, go to larry-hancock.com. Pick up your copy of In Denial at Amazon.com in digital or physical form.
Revelation through conversation.
The views expressed by callers, co-hosts, or anyone else who happens to get on the air at Ochelli.com do not necessarily reflect the views of Ochelli.com or Chuck Ochelli, and we are not responsible for any stupidity which might ensue. Thank you.
Ochelli.com.
Get ready for the Ochelli Effect.
Okay, smoke 'em if you got 'em. This is the busted night where I was supposed to interview Gayle Nix Jackson, but could not, did not, etc. I have opened up the phone lines, though, in case somebody wants to call. They can do so. 319-527-5016, but I think I'm just going to complete the stories here real fast about a couple of things and then get the hell out of the way and be done for today. Because, like I said, I got Larry Hancock, Albert Lanier coming up. There may be a surprise guest on Thor's Day night as well. There's a couple of interesting discussions that we're going to have regarding Syria, the changing of the guard, or the government should be, over there in Syria. A couple of fascinating gaffes in my mind that have been made by the news recently. In addition, we're going to have to start talking about how there is a seismic shift regarding Donald Trump. You know, no matter what I do, I'm going to wind up discussing this Trump MF, you know, for the next 4 years if I live that long and can maintain the radio show, right? There's no doubt about it. I'm going to have to. But anyway, the reasoning at this point regarding this mess, regarding what is happening. Oh, right. I wasn't done with the Dallas story, was I? Okay, so I finally get into the hotel, as I was saying, because I told you about my arrival. Gayle stood me up. Tonight, apparently, she's very ill, and she doesn't sound good, and her husband said, she missed, whatever. That's cool. I'm glad that she's okay. I mean, I'm not happy she's sick, but glad she's okay at least. And hopefully I'll be able to get her on soon. Doug Campbell has kind of a closer relationship with those people. So, he's he's the boy there. You know what I'm saying? So Dallas Action, I guess, will be the place to tune to. You're going to absolutely have to get your updates from there because even though I got a little bit of private time talking to Gayle on, whatever day it was, the day after she announced the day after the court ruling happened, not she announced. He announced it on his show because of the court ruling, right? And the court ruling occurred. Let me go grab that, actually. Take a look at it because, let's see, respond, comment, opinion. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so in case number 1, colon-23-CV-00704-SSS, filed 12/11/24. I believe it was the 12th that Doug put out the Dallas Action. So he might have called her that day or the next day. Got her right on the phone, got her right on the podcast, and put out the Dallas Action update. Throughout which Gayle basically, declared how good God is and how happy she is that they have decided ultimately in the case of Orville Nix Jackson, Orville Nix Jr., not Jackson, Orville Nix Jr., plaintiff, the United States defendant. What they did, let's see, at the top here, just real fast, okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. But plaintiff Orville Nix Jackson Jr., which is Gayle's father, okay, and therefore the lead person here, I guess, for compensation or answers regarding Orville Nix Sr.'s film of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Anyway, back to it. Opinion and order. Plaintiff Orville Nix Jr. seeks just compensation under the Fifth Amendment for an alleged taking of property, namely a long-missing film of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. AMCOMPL.ECF39. The government moved to dismiss, arguing that plaintiff has failed to plead facts sufficient to state a takings claim within this court's statute of limitations. Those arguments fail, at least at the pleading stage. So the motion to dismiss is denied. What that in essence tells you is that the government said, look, This is a long time ago these things happened. They're making a claim that we took something, literally in a process of what they call takings in legalese. I know that's, no Latin, oversimplified, whatever, but there it is. Okay, etc. And they're saying it wasn't done timely, it wasn't done properly, blah, blah, blah. The judge said BS. It sure was. So your motion to dismiss is denied. It must go forward. And here's another relevant portion. Again, not reading the whole thing at all, because it'll get confusing and stuff. In some circumstances, however, claims do not accrue until after the taking occurred, specifically when plaintiff's inquiry was inherently unknowable at the accrual date, or when the defendant has concealed its acts with the result that plaintiff was unaware of their existence. Now, pausing from this portion of the judgment, of the ruling on this, actually, and then they cite Young v. United States, 529 F.3D, 1380, 1384, Federal Circuit, 2008. Quotes omitted. Formulations referring to inquiry notice. The date on injured party knew or should have known of a claim or claims that are concealed or inherently knowable are all different ways of describing the same test. So what they're saying is that, a notice of inquiry, which is, hey, do you have this, basically, when it comes to the film? Okay. The date on the injury to the party or obviously or property, should it have been known or not? What the ultimate disposition of the Nix film was? Yes, right. And knew or should have known of a claim or claims that are, quote, concealed or inherently unknowable, end quote. So he also finds in here that these things were concealed. They were not openly admitted to and granted to the Nix family, who made a timely and correct inquiry regarding the film's disposition and all of that. Anyway, it says all are different ways of describing the same test. C.E.G. Holmes versus United States, 657 F3D 1303 and 1319 that means 221, Federal Circuit 2011. The court's inquiry into a claims accrual under the state statute of limitations, highly fact-specific, Otay Mesa Prop LPV, United States, 86 Federal CL 774786 of 2009. Affidavit, anyway, 670F3D, etc. Let's just leave the citations alone, because those won't make a bit of sense unless you're a lawyer. And, oh, by the way, I'll give you guys the link. No, wait, we don't have an open source link, do we? I'll find a way to make it so you can get a hold of this document specifically, so you can see the ruling. But the point is, the government tried to argue that, hey, he didn't ask for the film at the time he should have, and he didn't ask properly, and we have no proof that, he has no proof that it was taken, so therefore this, needs to be dismissed. Now, the amended complaint alleges that Nara has possessed the Nix film since 1978, a fact I must take as true. And then he cites Kellogg, Brown, and Root Services, Inc. versus the United States, 728, again, citation, assuming Aerospace transmitted the Nix film to NARA in 1978. The Nix film would have been part of the collection required by statute, JFK Records Act. Once collected by NARA, assassination records generally must be disclosed to the public. JFK Records Act, and then Section 5. But the law makes no provisions for return of any privately created record to their creators. The government, in fact, conceded at argument to that if the Nix film is part of the NARA collection created under the JFK Records Act, it will never be handed back. If the Nix film was, in fact, in NARA's possession when the JFK Records Act went into effect, possession was permanently transferred to the government by operation of law. A classic example of a taking. See Horn 576 U.S. at 361-62. In parentheses, and then I believe that's another form of citation. The government's actual taking of possession and control of property gives rise to a taking as clearly as if the government held full title and ownership. The government's counterargument hinges on contrasting the Nix film with the process by which the government compensated the owners of the Zapruder film. Another recording of President Kennedy's assassination. And anyway, they also may give you the citation for the taking of the Zapruder film. The government engaged in a dispute resolution procedure with the original owners, Def's Supply, and all that. The government argues that the absence of such a process for the Nix film indicates that no taking occurred. That is a non sequitur, of course. It says right there. Courts often recognize that the government has taken property without any formal process at all. Then they make a bunch of citations about that. Holding that frequent and continuous government oversights constituted a taking. And then Arkansas Game and Fish versus United States, blah, 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 this stuff, about a lot of land grab stuff here being cited. In order for a taking to occur, it is not necessary that the government intend to invade the property's owner's rights as long as the invasion that occurred was the foreseeable or predictable result of the government's actions. The real question is whether the government has taken an interest in property, and then they cite this Arkansas Game and Fish thing again. The absence of a process says nothing about that question. Okay, so they say, look, there's no taking process on record here. And the judge says the absence of a process says nothing about that question. So the deal is, you don't have a record of it because you didn't do it right. So this is not the question being asked. In any event, the government points to nothing in the JFK Records Act that requires it to engage in any process with private owners of assassination records before permanently archiving their property. Instead, the government has in the past taken the position that private records held by NARA when the JFK Records Act went into effect could not be returned to their owners, whether compensation had been paid or not. See John R. Thunheim et al., Final Report of the Assassination Records Review Board, page 137, 1998. The government's decision to pay compensation for the Zapruder film says nothing about plaintiff's right to compensation here. So that, look, I don't want to be the lawyer on this, but the way I interpret that is that this is a wide open thing. It's not a guarantee, actually, according to what I read here. And I wanted to ask Gayle about this, and I hope I get to. It seems to say to me there's no guarantee that you're going to be compensated. But the idea that it must be located and established as to where it went, and if it was taken in a proper process to begin with, might cause all of this to be undone, in which case, because they didn't follow what they should have, they didn't take care of it, they lied about it, et cetera, if it's found that they had possession of it and BS'd them all the way, then they denied them all sorts of processes and all sorts of rights regarding this thing. And guess what? They're going to be owed open compensation. Now, it depends on how it's read. And again, not a lawyer, I know that, but from what I can see here, that's the way it looks. Anyway, the conclusion right above where it says it is so ordered is as follows. Because the amended complaint properly alleges a compensatable taking under the takings clause, and because the amended complaint permits an inference that the suit was timely brought by the correct party, the motion to dismiss is denied. It is so ordered by the Honorable Stephen S. Schwartz, Judge. Okay. So, effectively what they're saying, the way I'm reading it, and again, not a lawyer. Really, I mean, I'm going to grab lawyers at some point about this. I'm going to grab somebody who knows. And hopefully, I'm going to convince Gayle's lawyer to either come on the show or do something here a little bit different from what maybe others might plan, so I'm not going to reveal it. To explain to people what's happening, what this might mean for others, obviously what this means for the Nix family. Gayle was elated and wanted to make sure that not only, Doug Campbell, if you heard it on there, she was saying repeatedly, God is good, God is great. And she was happy for her father and her grandfather. And, of course, after all of her struggle, that the government didn't simply go, you know what, sit down, shut up. She was grateful and thrilled and happy. And I am pleased on her behalf and hope that not only does she get compensated, it's not about the money. But, of course, compensation would be nice, and you got to pay the lawyers that actually had to do this work and everything else, even though I find most lawyers despicable and hanging them's a little too good for them. The thing is this. What's right is right, and this was not right to begin with. And from the moment that Orville Nix was offered, some pitiful sum of money for his assassination film, all the way on to things missing, and I guarantee you that there is an illegal move here where somebody absconded with this film, and the actual physical disposition of the film. I have a theory that I never got to share with Gayle regarding this, which is not just some crazy harebrained open air, I was imagining this at home and I woke up from a dream and it suddenly, no. With evidence that I know exists in the public domain, with real information and documentation, I am certain about how this is going to be discovered. And Gayle is going to find out that the film, at least up until 10 years ago, did indeed exist. Now, whether it does today or not, I've had no ability to maintain contacts with a ton of people that I wish I could have, all the way through. A lot of people I've missed out on over the past few years especially, but as, finances have kind of gone downhill, I moved further down south, and we ended up with less and less access to a lot of things. Frankly, again and again, I got to say, I lost contact with things, so I can't guarantee it. But I can guarantee that up until a few years ago, the original existed. I definitely feel it. Now, as to whether Gayle will ever see it again, it's an open question. But not only should the original be had presented and shown to people who could seriously study it, and people that would get answers out of the original artifact, okay, the real McCoy, so to speak. You can get information out of that thing that cannot be gotten from the copies. Just like I was explaining earlier today to someone who had asked regarding why is it even a big difference whether you've got pixelated digital, high quality, blah, 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 scan versus chemical printed photo based on archaic things like the lens. And what's the difference? Matter of fact, the digital photos look cleaner, better. And you don't have those problems. You don't have the smearing and the double exposures, and the camera didn't wind right, and there was a defect in the plastic, or the film that ends up picking up the emulsion, or all this crap. The color process, the Kodak process versus this. Your Kodak disc film sucks. Polaroids are terrible because a whole bunch of that, that crap, that silver nitrate crap or whatever it is they call it, gets stuck all over the place, makes the picture a sloppy mess. But there is information And most people don't know this. They look at a picture, they say, hey, this guy kind of looks like this guy. Like the people that are always going on and on about J.D. Tippit looks like John F. Kennedy. Therefore, they switch the bodies. That kind of nonsense. There is a big difference between that and saying, the actual dimensions, the physical landmarks match up, the hair color matches up, the heritage is similar, they're the same height, they have the same injuries. There's 100 things that, if you know that information, you can make an honest comparison. You can pull information out of what remains of the circumstances. You find the bullet in the body, therefore you know the caliber of the bullet that pierced that part of the body. Pretty simple. But when it comes to photographic evidence, you can pick up things that are in the third dimension. You can pick up the relativity of one object to another, exactly how far away, what are the angles here. You can see things in a photograph like that you can't get out of the digital. Yes, I know the digital is supposed to be high quality, blah, blah, all of that stuff. But it doesn't give you the organic style, lens, and preservation of a great deal of data that is available in that chemical print that's shot with a lens that is natural, that's not just simply flat plastic that you better hope was clean enough that day. But don't worry, if it wasn't clean enough that day, digitally we'll fill it in with very, very similar, right? The little square next to this one is obviously being covered over by some smudge on the lens. Well, no problem. We'll take one of the pixels that's super similar to it right next to it and fill it in with it. And you have pixelated corrections. You have different lighting connections. You could tell the temperature in a room. You can tell a lot of things. The comparative relative size. You can make very good observations from chemical photos that is simply not available in the digital. Now, I think there may be information that can be gathered only through digital. That's a possibility because it is a different form of preservation of the circumstances and the physical, the physical elements that are present in the image. In fact, I know there's certain things that can be done because of the digital elements in an image. Indeed, even if you take, and this is the moon landing thing, that, again, I start talking photographs, somehow or other, somebody always ends up, if there's a couple of us involved in an exchange, somehow or other, moon landing always has to come up. I love that because a certain guy who got, a little bit of a smack upside the head verbally from my recent guest talking about Jack Nicholson, makes certain claims about, you can't see the stars in this picture. And in this picture, you would have to see the stars based on the position. Well, the funny thing is, a guy who knows how film works, how visual effects work, a guy who knows a little bit about, the way that lighting and development of the resulting images, whether they be digital, physical, chemical to paper print, whether they're heat generated, and most of the components actually reside in the paper, and then it's a matter of literally raising them up like a carving almost. There are various processes by which a visual image, a flat visual image, can be created from a real world event, time, place, whatever. And fun thing is that one of the main proponents of there's no stars in the pictures should know, because my blind ass knows, that an adjustment, just an adjustment, not going to tell you which one, I don't want you playing with your photographs and making a mess out of things, but I'm going to tell you that you can do certain things, and it's not just a simple Photoshop obvious. You change contrast a bit on a scan of an original chemical image of the thing, right? You change the contrast, and poof, the stars appear. And not only do they appear in okay stars, there we go, end of argument, I win. No, because somebody could say, no, that was planted there, and they put it there artificially in order to make it appear as though it's a real photo, and, oh, silly you. But here's the problem. One, I don't think anybody could have imagined digital scan and all that, but let's just say they did, and, NASA's got 100 years ahead of us technologically, so they already had Photoshop in 1969. Okay, let's just say you're right. Do you think that they would have put them in proper order? Like every one of the stars that you can recognize is in the correct, predictable, should-be position. Geographical location, let's just say, in the universe. If you know that Pluto's here, then you know Jupiter's over here. And I know Pluto's not a planet, but you know that Saturn's here, then that means, therefore, our moon should be here if the date and time is correct, right? I don't have the astronomical knowledge to do this, to sort it out from raw, right? But I gone to somebody who does know how to do that. And they presented to me and demonstrated to me logical argument about, look, you can simulate where the stars should be on a particular date, how they should look from this particular vantage point, like this. There's a computer program out there that does this. I don't remember the name of the program, honestly. But pretty much, it's for astronomical and astrological work even. Where are the planets? It's got a really simple, strange name. And I don't even think it was a popular product or anything. But there is this, Where is the Planets program that you could get on CD-ROM. And you say, okay, where were the stars, aligned on the day I was born? Now, obviously, you got to give them the date. But, for me, I'm born April 7th. So where were the stars on April 7th, whatever year I was born? They will put, what did it look like from the northern hemisphere? If, there were no cloud coverage, clear sight from this position in the universe at this time. Where are each of the planets at that particular moment? Where is Earth? Where are the stars you should be able to observe from the northern hemisphere on the east coast of the northern continent of America? Show us where it is, and here's the messed up part. All the stars are where they should be. Now, I know I'm a big Star Trek fan. And that, is important information, especially if you're going to navigate around the universe. And believe it or not, there were guys that were working on Star Trek in the 1960s trying to make sure that if they ever brought up a existing, not the planet Vulcan or, where does Andoria stand? No, none of that. But if they were to bring up, where does, the Crab Nebula, or, where indeed would, the rings of Saturn be facing at the time you were looking at it from, the next universe, the next solar system over? Are there two red stars kind of over here where what they call Orion's belt? They tried to make it so that even in dialogue at one point in the 60s, I think they probably abandoned it at a certain point. But if somebody was legitimately like an astronomer who knew the positions of these things, where they should be, how many light years from here to there, etc., what is the space between this star and that, they were trying to make it so that it at least made basic sense. So they literally had somebody who was, geeked out on this. Okay, if they're going in this direction away from Earth, this is where a planet could be, even. And, again, if they mentioned an actual literal, this is the galaxy. This is the not the Milky Way, but this is what we call the red giant system that's over here. If you were going toward it, they wanted to put it on screen and say that's where you should be going, so that it made sense to somebody who was knowledgeable and said, wait a minute, if you're going from Earth and you're going to this solar system that has two red giants, they're not far from each other, and a black hole, and Yeah, they tried to make it so that you didn't look it up in your astronomy books, those tough things in the 60s, where information was gotten, internet not quite available to most at the time. Stuff like that. With your golden education, you could look it up and go, the Enterprise is going in this direction. You could actually place it in the universe and say it's going this way. And even they tried to make sense of, if it takes this many light years, and warp speed equals this, then could they be there in a day or two? So then on screen it would be like, we've been traveling for 2 days toward this spot over here. And the astronomer who is, actually knows where stuff is, the landmarks in the universe, would go, that's right, that's how long it would take to get to that star. Except we can't see this thing that they're showing us here, where there's, 9 planets and 3 of them are on fire. And 2 of them are made of ice. And there's a black hole, or no, wait, it might have been a destroyed planet. It would take us at our top, light speed, if we got to light speed, if we traveled at the speed of light, we'd get there in 500 years. But since we have warp speed, we'll be there in about 2 days. So anyway, it's interesting. They did that stuff. So the point is that even in a Star Trek situation, people would make it so the stars were in the right position, mostly. Again, occasionally, I'm sure somebody said F it and invented something that makes no sense in the known universe. It's like, hey, here's a planet that's actually shaped and looks, if you look at it from a distance, like a pizza. And it's flat. It's a flat Earth. Oops, did I say that out loud? It's a flat Earth. And they look at it and they go, it's a flat Earth, it's a flat Earth. And you go, yeah, there ain't no flat Earths out there. But if there was one, and they said you got to go from here away from our solar system, or the Sol system they call it, S-O-L, Sol system, which again is an interesting spelling and something I might get into this week. I have esoteric commentary to give you. I have something about, hoax or true human interest regarding certain things that have gone on in what I would still describe as conspiracy culture. Donald Trump is not only getting off on every lawsuit, although I did see something where there's some resistance to dropping the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit for some reason. As all of his lawsuits flake away like so much dry skin, which I have on my elbows at this point. I don't think Trump has dry skin, but I don't know I really would never want to know what texture it is. But, that orange spray tan stuff can't be good for your pores. Or the orange color, wherever he got it. You know what? He's probably not spray tanned. I don't even know anymore. That's the funny thing, though, is that people who were supposedly so enraged that they were blinded by their anger and their hatred of Donald Trump. Now, the Trump supporters out there, if you're a Trump supporter, you're listening to me, you go, oh, here he goes again. But hear me out. You guys will not acknowledge what I'm about to say, no matter what. So I'm going to give it to you anyway, though, and I want to see if 6 months, 8 months, if we survive beyond 9, if I can get back to Dallas next year and we're not nuked or, on a new lockdown because of spider flu or something like that. Here's what I tell you is not a prediction, but a certainty. Donald Trump is going to be completely normalized, acceptable, like as if he was always part of the good boys insider club. That's where he's going to be in 9 months from now. When? Absolute, across the board, by the way. CNN's going to love him. The president's doing good. The whole system is going to embrace him. Just like international leaders are accepting his visits right now, even though he hasn't taken office yet. Kiddies. Anyway, and here's a fun fact, by the way. Media Watch, pay attention, and I'm going to read from Fox News. And I'm going to put the link in the chat room at Ochelli.com. I want you to roll it back. I want you to read it, and I want you to remember that the blind guy is telling you what he's seeing, and most people are blinder than me because they're not seeing this, whether they are a Trump supporter, dyed in the wool, and don't care, and ride or die with Donnie, Donnie, baby, ride or die, Donnie, Donnie, baby, or they're on the side of he's a Nazi, he's the next Hitler, he's this, he's that, oh my God, he's Satan. So whether it is Trump cult or woke, very good, by the way, phase shifter for dropping it right there. The double-edged sword of Trump cult / woke America. Trump haters, Trump humpers. They are all now, ready, on the same team. 9 months from now, they will be indiscernible from one another. The president is doing this. The president is doing that. CNN is going to tell you how he's on your side. It is a remarkable work of beauty. The fact that they sold you, not the guy who was going to battle the deep state, but the deep state in a different package. The fact that they gave you, this guy's an outsider, when he is the insider. The fact that he is not the guy on your side, but actually the guy who's only on his own side, and a servant of all things deep state. Which, oh, by the way, I want to thank Jimmy James, and I hope Jimmy got the items I sent him in the mail. They're due to be there already, but I haven't heard from you in a couple days. And frankly, the last thing I'm going to tell you about before I get out of here. Well, last couple things. One of them. Let me just say, he sent me a book called The Builders. And it's definitely a Freemason. It looks almost like a comic book on the front of it. It's hilarious. I'm going to have trouble reading it, Jimmy, but I'm going to read this sucker. And I hope that you got your JFK stuff that I sent you, bonus material, and the book and DVD you wanted. Okay? Anyway, so thank you also, Jimmy. Really appreciate you. And I appreciate any of you guys who actually support my show. What is going to happen to me over the next year is I don't know if the Ochelli Effect is going to survive. I've gotten recently undermined again regarding trying to bring up new people to the network. And I do mean I had new hosts in mind and a whole bunch of stuff. And it's just me and Aaron at this point. Me, Aaron, and Uncle. You know, the triad of dyads. Anyways. So back to it. Trump is going to be so acceptable shortly that you're not going to realize that there was ever a problem or an objection to him being president. I mean, there's going to be a few people that are still going to fake play on the other side. They're going to be, still the heel of the WWE events. But they're going to be really crappy ones. They're going to be Iron Mike Sharp. They're going to be, let me think about this. They're going to be the Moondogs of the WWF back then, now WWE. They're going to be who Lou Albano used to manage before he hooked up with Cyndi Lauper. That is what they're going to be. Just the completely fake controlled opposition. Like I said, Jonestown, the InfoHewers, got their site back. Never changed over on some of the, products that were being sold. Dr. Jones still living, and now he's a big presence on X and actually went out to all these other independent, platforms. So it looks to me like a reorganization and a refresh of the Alex Jones show and InfoHewers. That's all that was. And wouldn't you know it, they pulled it over your eyes right away by telling you the Onion's actually going to own it. Beauty. Things of beauty, my friends. What little of you I have left. Anyway, I love this media story, and I want to go over it. It's from Fox News, and you're going, uh-oh, Chuck is starting to jump on the Trump train. Almost. At this point, what else do you do? I guess I should say, great. This is all good, because you know what it's going to lead to? The downfall of the very, very, very broken system. That's fine by me, by the way. But through incompetence and, children basically robbing the cash out of your ashtray in your car. They robbed all the change, but they left behind the really good stuff that was sitting on the floor on the passenger side, right? The kakistocracy only knows to steal the change out of the ashtray. They're going to take what petty things they can. Some of these billionaires and tech guys are going to come in. They're really going to commit the robberies. And everybody's going to cheer and celebrate this guy, the administration, all of it, until the check for the meal comes. By the way, 319-527-5016. I have that. Phone lines are open. And by the way, no screen either. You can come right on the air. All right. Anyway, George Stephanopoulos. This is, again, from the media section at Fox News. Right? Let me just make sure I got this right. FoxNews.com. Yeah, Stephanopoulos doesn't mention ABC. Okay. Anyway, George Stephanopoulos doesn't mention ABC News settlement with Trump's defamation lawsuit on his Sunday show. The ABC News anchor also deleted his X account. Does everybody remember who George Stephanopoulos is/was? Do you? I don't think you do. But if you do, it's fun. Go look up who that is. And, oh, by the way, he got a sweetheart job, right, after leaving an administration that clearly was there so he could just continue to have influence in the media circles of influence in America. That was the whole point of this guy, okay? And he's done it. But now he's deleting his X account. He's getting rid of Twitter. Right? What do they used to call that? Twitter suicide, right? Anyway, so he's on Twitter suicide watch, and then, well, he finally did it. Anyhow, so that's part of what's happening, right? He deleted his Twitter. I am going to get this done in just a second here, but I'm having a little trouble with my keyboard now, and I was trying like hell to type it in and be slick here, but and I'm going to get back to this article. Hey, you know what? Let me just get back to the article first, and then we'll get into some of this biographical stuff. Okay, so he didn't mention it on his Sunday show, which is a big deal, for political junkies. To the article, ABC News host George Stephanopoulos ignored the news about his network's massive settlement. See, now Trump's getting paid on settlements even. He's always filed, I'm pulling away from the article momentarily, he's always filed lots of nuisance lawsuits, lots of obstructive lawsuits, strategic stuff. If I cause you enough problems, guess what? You'll give up on this. You'll go do what it is I wanted you to do anyway. They try and compel him to pay money. Sometimes he does. Usually he doesn't. Lawsuits are one of Trump's superpowers, along with Chinese goods that he has made in his name with his brand on them while battling China in tariff wars. Anyway, back to it. And while his daughter gets all sorts of patents and all that, which, by the way, why is Guilfoyle getting the ambassadorship to Greece? Anyhow, you know what? I digress. All right. So, Fox News Digital first reported on Saturday that ABC News and Stephanopoulos agreed to a settlement to avoid a costly trial over Trump's defamation lawsuit against the network and anchor. News of the settlement, however, failed to appear on ABC's This Week. Instead, Stephanopoulos focused on stories about unidentified drones over New Jersey, ongoing conflicts in Syria, and Trump's cabinet picks. Oh, he focused on news instead of copping to the media lawsuit, huh? Amazing. Also amazing that a few days after I failed to get any sort of interest and other people seemed to broadcast about not getting any interest, all of a sudden the corporate media picked up and is like, what's going on over Jersey? Because now it's happening over New York. This sucks. Also, it's been over California, too. Anyway, when I get those podcasts out from Friday, you'll know why I said that. All right. News of the settlement, however, failed to appear on ABC on This Week instead. Yeah, okay, I already read that part. But anyway, liberals unload on ABC's lawsuit with Trump, defend George Stephanopoulos, knee-bent, ring-kissed. Stephanopoulos was the focus of the lawsuit after he asserted that Trump was found liable for rape in a civil case during a contentious interview with Representative Nancy Mace, Republican, South Carolina, last March. After playing a clip of Mace discussing being a victim of rape, Stephanopoulos asked, how do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw? You've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and 2 separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape, Stephanopoulos said, alluding to the legal victory by Trump accuser E. Jean Carroll. Stephanopoulos repeated the claim 10 times during his spat with Mace, despite the fact that a jury actually determined Trump was liable for, quote, sexual abuse, end quote, which has a distinct definition under New York law. Now let me pull away from the article. So the big defamation is, you said I raped, they said I sexually abused. Right? Let's see. Sexual abuse, yes. Now, rape is a form of sexual abuse, and if you look at the specific allegations, even though there's a legal definition for what they found him guilty of, you beat somebody with a baseball bat. You weren't convicted of beating somebody with a baseball bat. You were convicted for assaulting them. They give a legal name to it. Okay. Anyway, the This Week host was initially defiant against the lawsuit when asked about it in May, adding he would not be cowed out of doing my job because of a threat. Trump sued me because I used the word rape, even though a judge said that's in fact what did happen. We filed a motion to dismiss, Stephanopoulos told late-night host Stephen Colbert. According to the settlement, ABC News will pay $15 million as a charitable contribution to a presidential foundation and museum to be established by or for plaintiff, as presidents of the United States of America have established in the past. Additionally, the network will pay $1 million in Trump's attorney fees. Well, at least one of Trump's lawyers gets paid. Stephanopoulos and ABC News also had to issue statements of, quote, regret, end quote, as an editor's note on the bottom of a March 10, 2024 online article about comments made earlier this year that prompted Trump to file the defamation lawsuit. The note reads, quote, ABC News and George Stephanopoulos regret statements regarding President Donald J. Trump made during an interview by George Stephanopoulos with Representative Nancy Mace on ABC's This Week on March 10, 2024. Then the subheadline here, Trump hopes to keep winning when he takes ABC News, CBS News to court over alleged dishonest reporting. Please note in that headline, NBC, right? ABC News, CBS News. No NBC there. No MSNBC there, right? No CNBC there. Just remember, no national broadcasting company. Okay? I'm tired of arguing every little detail, so I'm just going to, put a pin in it and let you figure it out. Will President Biden pardon any member of his family or administration? This is a poll that's sitting here, which was closed for predictions after January 20th, 2025. Oh, it'll be closed in a month. Will President Biden pardon any members of his... Okay, it's a poll. That's funny. Submit your prediction. Well, it's kind of easy, and they ought to take that down. It's already done. Anyway, back to the article. We are pleased that the parties have reached an agreement to dismiss the lawsuit on the terms in the court filing. Okay, so they agreed this isn't outside of, this isn't a penalty, but sort of like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to publicly apologize. Okay, settle. Not full process, just settle. An ABC News spokesperson told Fox News Digital. Now, I'm willing to bet lots of money that lawyers, the second that Trump was selected in November, were calling up Georgie Boy here and saying, listen, man, the new president is going to have the power to do whatever he wants with you. Even if you were somehow able to beat this lawsuit, he's going to come after you when he's in office. you better do a mea culpa and get the hell out of his way, because he's going to take a revenge tour. And you don't want to be one of the great dates along the way. I used to love when I saw like the plane fly graphic and like the train pull in or the tour bus roll around on the screen. When MTV would show you upcoming tour dates for whoever, whether it was, some crap, Bon Jovi or God help us, Poison with Faster Pussycat, stupid things, or it was something cool. Didn't matter. I loved the little graphics. Here's a plane flying by, tour bus, train, although I don't think anybody's taken a train tour of the U.S. For the purposes of rock and roll, since rock and roll was invented. But okay. Maybe since the light bulb was invented even, I don't know. All right. I'm going to cut it off here and be done with it for tonight, but I got to tell you, it's not a prediction, it's a certainty. Trump is going to be further normalized, and not only is he going to get out of everything, including the E.G. and Carroll thing, whether you think it was actually the R word, or you believe wholeheartedly that it was just some sort of sexual abuse, or you think this is nonsense, it was it's a witch hunt, it's absolute nonsense, and these people need to pay. They need to lose their license. NBC, screw them. And he's not even pleased with Fox News, but Fox News is trying hard to get back in his good graces. I don't know why they should have to. I mean, because they balked a little bit at, like, some of his nonsense or some of his nominees. I don't know, Fox is weird again. They're not agreeing with every single thing I'm saying. Most senators are, though, and if you don't, we'll primary the hell out of you and get you out of there. Yep. But don't worry, those drones over my head, I'm not concerned. I had to cancel. I mean, it's starting to look stupid, by the way. He canceled being at his golf course in Jersey just recently. Because I guarantee you somebody finally over there, in that brain trust, had the, the super moron ability to eventually reach a realistic conclusion. Wait a minute. If we're criticizing Biden for not taking care of these drones over our head, and everybody sucks who's in government, and our borders, our skies, nothing is secure, man. If that's all true, why is Trump willing to sit there and these dangerous drones are overhead? Why would he do that? That makes no sense. Oh, my God. It took them 2 months to figure it out. Maybe we should get Trump out of the area so he doesn't look like he's okay with something that obviously he already knows about. He's in on it. For God's sake. He was already informed. He knows. He knows he's fine. He knows he's got more to worry about from the gardener at Bedminster than he does from the drones over Jersey. For sure. Anyway, is there anything else I can say? Absolutely. Is there anything else I'm going to say? I'm not sure. But pretty much, I guess I'm all done for the night with most of the news. I gotta say, again, it's a small, small, strange world. It is what it is. Stephanopoulos can't even get away without having to drop $15 million into Trump's pocket. Bobby Kennedy Jr. is still asking for money for his campaign to shore it up because he's in debt, and he's got to join the Trump train. Oh, by the way, there's some misgivings about that now. Regarding this and that, but I guarantee you that's all going to, just evaporate along with his lawsuits and everything else. It is what it is. I love the alt-fringe maps of the United States that are starting to be circulated. I guess some people think that there's going to be certain states in the Union that are just about ready to, guess what, secede. And some others might unite. How would you like just one Dakota instead of a North and a South? Screw it. Let them share. Let them share the mountain with the faces of the alleged leaders on it. Let them share Rushmore, right? Anyway, let them share that. Let California fall into the ocean or burn up or something. Let Florida fall into the ocean or actually float away on its own and literally raise Atlantis from somewhere. Because DeSantistan is such a beautiful place, everything's wonderful. So the final story of the night is a personal one. since I've already told you about the wonderful future upcoming, 2025 is going to be lots of fun. We're going to do the live, if I'm not in the hospital or dead, we're going to do the live Uncle's New Year's Revolution. I'm going to have Larry Hancock on later this week to talk about Syria and what the hell is actually happening there. Because that's a whole other, international cluster screw. But it is what it is. And that's what I said on the Shooting Shite podcast recently, right? Which, by the way, is out there. I don't know if I have it immediately. Let me see if I can grab it before I close out tonight's discussion, because I think it's well worth having. The interesting that I finally, once again, have discovered somebody who has some of the same thoughts as me with this madness that we're looking at. In a lot of ways and about a lot of things. And as I look at the alleged, ISIS leader, or maybe it was Al-Qaeda, I mix them up because I'm not sure which shift the CIA's in. I mean, when it's the night shift, it's definitely a different character of dude. But anyway, one of the bearded guys over there is supposedly running Syria at this point in time. It's a beauty, man. It's a complete beauty. That whole situation, you don't think that was engineered on purpose? You don't think that the handover to Israel, Huckabee is now going to be part of that situation? God bless him, and maybe he can get away from his smoky-eyed, daughter with the constant and continuous, what do they call that, resting something face? Anyway, whatever it is. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, lovely. Maybe she'll actually become the head of the CIA next. All that going on. Kimberly Guilfoyle being the envoy to Greece at this point, the ambassador. Ambassador, you've never been an ambassador. You have no idea about, can you find Greece on a map? No, but my travel agent can. And, I don't screw Newsom anymore or Don Jr., so I'll have time to do this. The best is yet to come. All right. But all of that going on, the Shooting Shite thing, I'm going to grab the link to it, and hopefully you guys can get something out of that discussion. Interesting guy, Josh, over there. I kind of like, some of what he had to say for sure, and a lot of his thoughts, etc. And we had it was scary for a moment there. It's like, because I'm so used to people just like horrified. They can't believe I'm not, on the Trump train. I'm not with this. I'm not with that. I'm not on the side of, well, I like tyranny if it comes from the right people. No, it's not me. But anyway, I'm all wrong about all that stuff. But, when their guy changes their mind, it's all good. Anyway, again, back to just being part of what? Just being part of the team. You only want to be on the team. No original thoughts of your own. It's all beautiful. This guy's not one of those guys, which is weird, and is also why I probably never heard of him before. You can't catch fire unless you're in the dumpster that is the Trump fire. 1, 2, you can't, be a liberal of any kind unless you supported Biden and Kamala and made sure that you believed in infinite diversity and infinite directions. Regardless of whether they make sense, they're part of the sane or scientifically possible world, it's irrelevant. Anyway, dropping another link into the live Ochelli chat room just because, I don't know, it's time to amuse myself. And I figure I'm entitled. So anyway, the last thing, a personal story. I got so ill over last week, and really have been progressively feeling more and more ill lately, that, frankly, again, I was fading out, man. I was so sick, I didn't know what to do with myself. So, ill. Just really, really, really ill. You know what I'm saying? And got to a point bad enough where Mrs. O said, all right, that's it. You're going to the hospital. Again, for people who know me, you should know. And without a doubt, you should know. There's no way in hell that I would go to the doctor unless, A, I thought I was dying, or B, I thought I required a battlefield medic to take care of some damage. Those are the only two circumstances under which I am willing to go to the hospital, okay? Well, that happened because I was in bad enough shape that I had no idea what to do with myself, okay? And that was it. I was at a loss, a complete loss. To diagnose, to correct, or to make possible anything regarding improvement. I double posted the Twitter link for that Shooting the Shite show there. There we go. I've corrected it now in the live chat room at Ochelli.com. Go check that out because I was sick then, but not bad, and I faded so bad that I required medical assistance. I was very, very ill. I felt like the whole world was actually fading away, and I was perhaps dying. I guess I'm not going to go into the details. I'm still very sick, but I'm able to eat food again. I had not actually eaten in many days. And I was barely able to hold down water. And sometimes even consuming a small bit of water, I was throwing up foam, which was very weird. And just wasn't sure. I'm certain at this point in time that there's some sort of infection which has invaded me. But the ineptitude, again, of access to any sort of health care, of an emergency, of something that, look, if I can figure out a way to pay you for it, I'll pay you. Just, can you get it so that I'm not walking around like a zombie and out of it so bad I don't understand the world around me? Can you do that? Can you get rid of the high fever? Can you help me out here? I mean, I'm not yelling about it because I could barely talk. That's the shape I was in by the time we went to what they call the Coliseum here in Macon, Georgia. Okay? A mess. Anyway, I'm sitting here sweating right now and hurting and all kinds of stuff. And I had problems with a herniation in my gut. And, there's a multitude of problems here that occurred. I'm still ill, but one, there's no way they're going to keep, a guy like me who doesn't have money in the hospital very long. So, they gave me very little medicine, very little advice, very little help, and I was waiting, 5 hours in between being attended for any test or anything. And quite frankly, I waited 12 hours before even they finished the triage and intake process, and I went to the hospital in an ambulance, folks. These are not normal circumstances for me. Anyway, I'm going to close this out. I'm going to do what I can. Let's hope that I survive, A, through Christmas, but then, B, long enough to go back to Dallas next year, because I'm planning on having, if I survive that long, I want to have a nice get-together with some of you guys. I want to hang out with Mike Swanson, and I want to hang out with Creative Accidents. God help me, man. This guy's going to think I'm nuts. But, third year in a row, I'd love to see Creative Accidents, even if it's just for a day like I did last time. I want to eat pizza at a gangster restaurant. I want to find a cheap place to consume food while we're out there. And also, I want to do a publicly accessible tour in Dealey Plaza, where we discuss things that the regular tour guides and the homeless guys that, were transferred into the guys who carry around these weird newspapers and try and tell you all kinds of crazy things about, knowledge that they had to memorize so that you'll tip them and all that. They used to be homeless guys, and there was a guy who came up with the brilliant idea of giving them this, composite newspaper for tourists. And then they go around, oh, you know what that spot is? You know where that came from? Right there where you're standing. All that stuff, they would hustle on you so that you would turn around and pull some money out of your pocket and hook them up. It's just like a guy dancing for you on the street, except it's in Dealey Plaza. They tried getting rid of those guys for years, especially after the 6th Floor Museum opened. And, I want to actually lead a group through there, which you're allowed to do, and tell them some things that hardly anybody ever talks about, provable realities, stuff that is right there in front of them that is still being preserved and in one piece at this historical landmark, and impart some knowledge on people. I have an idea for a film thing, panels, special participation from the audience, and this year I'm going to be involved in a bunch of organizational stuff regarding Lancer. Maybe my last hurrah to a convention. I'm hoping that I can do that. I'm hoping that I can restore the now very, very badly fallen numbers at the network. I'm hoping that I can bring a couple of other broadcasters in and get myself a little bit out of this funk, because here's the thing. I'm in a position now where I don't feel enthused. I was numb, by the way, during this whole illness thing. Couldn't taste, couldn't smell, couldn't feel. And I recognize that part of that is on my spirit lately. And the reason is pretty simple. I'm going to come back. I'm going to tell you about that and a couple other things that are significant and are going to occur, again, if I can keep breathing over the next few days, week, etc. We're going to make a few things happen, and I'm going to try and do a few things differently, because I'd like to leave something for you guys. And I'd like to leave something for my children that's a whole lot more unique than the nonsense that tons of other people are making part of the reality in the media spheres. And you know what? Let's enjoy something more than season 2 of Squid Game.
Ochelli.com. Do you like history? Real history that you were never taught in schools? Why? The Vietnam War, nuclear bombs and nation building in Southeast Asia. By author Mike Swanson, with new documentation never seen before that'll open your eyes to events that led up to this. Why? The Vietnam War, nuclear bombs and nation building in Southeast Asia, 1945 through 1961. Get your copy today at Amazon.com. Why? The Vietnam War, by author Mike Swanson.
The mechanism of carcinogenicity in rats is not applicable in humans. However, any chemical that is shown to be carcinogenic in animals or humans, or should I say humans or animals, cannot be authorized by FDA. It's called the Delaney Clause. And so red dye, because it is known to cause cancer in laboratory animals, should not be authorized. And so that is what has been challenged FDA for many years, is how to manage around the Delaney Clause.
So what he just said there was completely insane, and I'm going to help you understand some of the wizard talk that you just heard there.
The Ochelli.com radio network.
Nuclear holocaust. You know what uranium is, right? This thing called nuclear weapons and other things, like lots of, you know what uranium is, right? Bad things. Things are done with uranium, including some bad things. Nuclear holocaust. You know what uranium is, right? Type in brief. Nuclear holocaust. Nuclear holocaust. You know what uranium is, right? Nuclear weapons and other things. Lots of, you know what uranium is, right? Bad things are done with uranium, including some bad things. Nuclear holocaust. Nuclear holocaust.
Shot like a kill rock, sipping Bud Light at the drag show. I'm bringing all shot like I'm K-Rock, sipping Bud Light at the drag show.
Get ready for the Ochelli Effect.
So the next time that I have a solo show that is not containing a guest, or I have a busted guest, I have a prepared situation here where we're going to talk about one of the most famous hoaxes in history, and I don't mean the current hoax that's being pulled now regarding, here's the alleged opposition, here's the outsider, here is your gladiator in the imaginary arena where you have an actual stake in the results of the political and geocentric strangeness of the chemical world. We are at a loss at this time to come up with anything else other than what is going to be material I've never covered before. I feel like it's time to talk about the Mandela effect because I want it now. I want the ability to change a lot of stuff. I've had open lines, by the way. Nobody is really wanting to call in and talk to me. We're going to do the call-in show on Friday and discuss whether we should just discontinue phone calls or if we should move it to another night and all that stuff. Because I love talking to Jimmy James, but at this point I might as well make him a co-host. You guys want to do this? Let's do it. But let's do it for real. You want to actually pull the veil away, or do you want to stick your head in a pillowcase and make sure that you don't see that you're being fed imaginary heroes, you're being fed imaginary representatives, etc., etc.? So believe it or not, we're going to talk about time travel, predictive media. We're going to talk about how they're actually doing programming on a massive PSYOP level to get people convinced that Project Bluebeam is just yawn. And, the drones are overhead. Don't worry about that. They're over Trump's head, too. He's not worried. Oh, wait, now he is worried because it kind of looks stupid. They're sitting there. I'm here in Jersey, and I don't care that there's school buses flying over my head that nobody knows where they came from. It's all right as long as it's not Biden's plane. But I'll hang out with Dr. Jill over here in France while I'm doing state visits, even though I'm not officially a part of the state. Oh, wait, maybe he is. The deep state, bitch.